Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and today we can finally talk about the DLC stuff. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting and so have I. In this video we're going to talk about Malakai Makaisson. This is the brand new legendary lord for the Dwarfs, which includes a bunch of new units in Thrones of Decay too. So let's talk about the faction effects first and the lord effects. Has access to Malakai's adventures, enabling powerful war machines and artillery modifications and unique legendary battles. You'll start your campaign with Gotrek and Felix already unlocked. Upkeep minus 15% for artillery and flying war machine units in all armies. And finally, recruit rank plus 3 for artillery and flying war machine units in all armies once again. For the lord effects we have as follows. Malakai's army has access to the Spirit of Grungni, airship buildings, ability to ranged munitions, and finally missile strength plus 20% for artillery and flying war machine units. What you'll see here is that your Slayer focus is still going to be in your campaign, but you're going to be mostly focusing very heavily on a lot, and I mean a lot, of artillery throughout your whole campaign. It's going to be quite interesting, so let's just jump right into it. You're going to start off your campaign in Krakadrak. This will be both for the Immortal Empires and the Realm of Chaos. This means that you are on the forefront of a lot of possible enemies, with Throg and Throt being your immediate ones, and then afterwards you've got Malus Darkblade, Daniel, Epidemius right on top of you. It's going to be quite a hectic battle there. Your starting enemy will be a minor Nurgle faction, which won't be too difficult to deal with considering that you have a pretty good starting army with 2 legendary heroes, a unit of Doomseekers, and the now really strong Gyrocopters. But we have to talk about a few other things, like, say, for example, some mechanics, with Malakai being a pseudo-horde faction. Yep, Creative Assembly finally remembered that they have this mechanic. This means that the Spirit of Grungni is going to be your moving horde just with Malakai Makaisson. Don't worry, you've got more uses for the Spirit itself, but we have to talk about this because this means that you're going to be extremely mobile, you're going to be able to get every single building up and running, and almost the full dwarf roster is available here, meaning that you can recruit all the Slayers that you want. Those will be naturally there from the settlement building in general, or you can get some normal dwarfs if you so wish. There's also upkeep reduction, and you can increase the sphere of influence of the spirit while also improving its capabilities in battle. If you've played characters from the Vampire Coast before, then you are more than used to the pseudo-horde system. If you haven't, don't you worry, it's basically just you still build an empire, don't you worry, but you've got a character who's got a moving settlement with him. I love the interpretation of this. I think it's really important to see that the spirit is so large, it acts like its own moving camp. Malakai has his own unique skill line, as with all other legendary lords, and it focuses around research raids, getting some more master engineers. You've got some very big buffs to Slayers, by the way, faction-wide, including reducing their upkeep minus 10% for all armies. This is a really big buff, especially if you want to be going with full Slayers. Some of the bonuses to war machines and a little bit of administration, but yeah, you're going to be getting a lot of Slayer buffs here, which is going to be on theme. Obviously, this is the Slayer Engineer, so you're going to want to mix up Slayers and as many, and I mean many, war machines as you can in multiple armies. If you want Big Daka, this is going to be the faction for you, very clearly. In terms of generic skills, Malakai focuses on basically being an engineer, so yeah, you know, a little bit of bonuses towards his guns and so on, and also a little bit of melee. You can see that his stats are pretty damn good, even with his shotgun 180 range and 1.3 thousand missile strength, which is, wow. Right, but it's how this faction is. This faction is going to be there to be a range/Slayer hybrid. Now, you've also got access to 2 unique items, which you do have a item set also. The first item is acquired at rank 8, which isn't too bad, and the last one is at 12, so you'll be getting all your stuff pretty early. No mount options for him, he's going to be always on foot, but that is pretty much the best way to interpret the character, I would say. So overall, this character is pretty interesting in his own right. He gets even better when you start looking towards his unique mechanics. It is also important to note that any new changes that have come to the Dwarves through their rework in Update 5.0 also affect Malakai. This includes the new Grudge system and the Great Book of Grudges. Roll credits. So just like the other characters in Thrones of Decay, you won't have access to your brand new mechanics at the very beginning of your campaign. So what you have to do is just kind of go through the motions. Your first 5 turns are pretty much just chilling out and yeah, take over some settlements, build up a little bit of a force. This is going to work out for a lot lot of newer players, especially those who have been avoiding Nurgle since launch, so yeah. But before that, we're still on Malakai. You see, you can use the Spirit of Grungni in battle. This is a summon which will last for a decent amount of time, which can also be extended whilst you start building up your pseudo-horde building, so don't you worry about that. But yeah, you just summon it in, it takes a while to come into the battle, it's here for a limited amount of time for a good reason, because it does a lot of damage. And don't you worry, all the other Thunderbarges aren't summoned, so you can have multiple ones. This is just an extra one for an oh shit moment, or if you're dealing with loads and loads of hordes, because these guys do so much damage, man. You're gonna have to be a little bit careful, because yeah, you can hurt yourself there, but you've got so many extra guns on top and so on, so if they're not really close to your troops, they can still provide supporting fire through multiple different directions. Actually, it's just insane how strong this actually is. Well, Thunderbarges in general, they are pretty freaking insane. It's actually really nice to see that interpretation, because in the rulebook for 8th edition they existed, they never had a model, but they were horrendously overpowered, which is great. You know, these things are here for a reason. And let's be honest, the dwarves kind of needed something just stupidly OP. But now we can talk about the brand new mechanic known as Malakai's Adventures. This is going to be available from turn 5, and it's a bit of a questing system. It's actually really curious on how this was done. As you can see, there are a number of different locations here, and it's all focusing around different factions. All these different nodes are going to give you really heavy bonuses towards various different units in your campaign. There are 7 different nodes, which means 7 big adventures here, and they're going to vary. It's going to be quite interesting because it's going to give you some variety to fight with. Even if you're playing in the Immortal Empires, there are going to be certain factions that you just might not be seeing for a while, so this is a way to fight them early. So what this means is you start the adventure, and the other ones are going to then be locked until you finish one. You'll only have access to 2 at the very beginning, but you'll be able to get access to some awesome items and all the buffs, plus a number of units that you'll be able to recruit from the very beginning. Once you start your adventure, it's going to turn into a bit of a quest system, meaning that you'll have a number of different things to do, like for example, fight a battle against cavalry, fight a battle in mountain climate, well, 2 of them. Once you've done a small number of them, you'll be able to get a quest battle, and that will kind of complete the adventure. Now, I do have to stress out here from my own testing, I'm not sure this is going to change in live, that if you leave some quests out and then do the quest battle, you will end up losing on potential bonuses, because each of the rewards are locked to some of these certain quests in here. But it doesn't take too long, don't worry, because say for example it's saying fight a caravan of the Dwarfs. Well, it's going to spawn one pretty near you. Same thing with the High Elves. With Dragon's Bane, you have to fight a number of High Elf units, and they will spawn armies around the area, kind of like quest markers, which you can fight through. You don't have to use Malakai for this, by the way. You can use other armies too. So if you've got quests taking you to some specific locations, you are more than able to send in other armies. Just in case, for a little bit of a disclaimer, for those who might be worried that this will detract from a standard Immortal Empires campaign, don't you worry. The way it works is it's kind of fluid there, so you'll still be doing your normal campaign. It's added in, hell, it's going to help you level up Malakai a lot faster if you decide to use him to do the questing, or your other lords. Very early on into my campaign, I had Malakai at rank 17, which is pretty damn good, because you could tell that the AI was lagging behind. Obviously, I was putting a big focus into that specifically, but in one of my tester campaigns, Malos decided to turn around and fight me because, well, that's what he does, and yeah, he was not ready for what was coming. Further to starting the adventures, you will have also noticed that, yes, you actually get some units, so if one of them focuses on a specific troop, like for example Dragon's Bane on cannons, you'll be able to recruit them instantly at no cost. You'll get a number of them so you can actually do these adventures fairly quickly. This is with the introduction of a mercenary tab, which you'll be seeing fairly often now with Thrones of Decay. This is going to be with the 3 legendary lords. Definitely gives me a little bit of a hope for the future, as it looks like maybe Creative Assembly are looking towards mercenaries, but that's speculation and we're going to leave that for another day. Now, once you've finished up all the side quests, which you'll need to be able to get all the bonuses, you're going to get a fancy new quest battle. And yes, every one of these has quest battles. It's going to teleport you to the area just as a normal one, and you're going to be fighting some pretty interesting armies. Some of them are very strong, so keep that in mind. You're not going to want to go in there pretty weak, because you will get destroyed. Some of them are pretty simple. tailor your armies. You have no specific time frame for this, so you can literally tailor your army with Malakai. This has to be with Malakai, and get some really fast leveling in, to be honest. It is actually a really good way to power level Malakai up as much as possible, which is going to be good considering that you are in an area that you're going to be dealing with a lot of problems, especially if Archeon turns his attentions to you. Now, what's also really cool about this is all these quest battles are fully voiced. I'm going to show off one of them only. I don't want to show them all. Please keep in mind that there is a little bit of an audio issue here, and this is because we're on an experimental build, so this does happen. You will have a fixed, proper version by the time that this launches. This has been confirmed by the devs that we're not getting any more fixes because the launch is so close, so they're working on their own build, which is the live build.
Come on! Who's scared of a little tonight? Think of the opportunities! Oh, look! Elgi on the fancy ponies! Time for some target practice! Whoa, that's a big lizard! Ready the cannons, Dowie! Gold for you if you can take its eye out!
So yeah, there's a bunch of fully voiced quest battles, which is just kinda a side thing, not your actual item battles. This is cool. It shows that a lot more budget has been put into kind of establishing the character more. The more that you can hear him, the more that players can relate to them, and so on. It's a pretty good system. These battles are pretty difficult sometimes, by the way. I came in with, it's my fault. I came in with some miners with blasting charges, and obviously fire damage is not a good idea versus dragon princes, you know, so my fault. They do vary. Not all of them are basic like this. Like this one is, you know, we fight the elves, the dragons arrive, fight the dragons. There's other ones which have a few more different extra things to them. Like, for example, you can't damage a specific character until you do this, this, and this. I like this system. It shows that they're trying to expand the quest battles a little bit more. This is something that they've been trying since Warhammer 3 first launched, but it's being expanded a lot more here, and I really do appreciate that because a lot of the other quest battles were very basic, let's be honest there. More flavor means more bringing Warhammer Fantasy into Total War, which is something that a lot of people, including myself, have been asking for. So we finished all the little side quests and we've done the quest battle. This means that for the remainder of the campaign, our cannons are going to be pretty beefy for the remainder of the campaign. Now, we can turn our attentions to another one. This time we're going to be looking towards the Dwarfs. And I'm not going to be doing all of them, I'm not going to be showing all the quest battles and so on, because I want that for you to be able to explore, but I'm going to talk about it because, as you can see, you're going to be able to boost up your gyrocopters. Gyrocopters being pretty decent already, and decent is using the term loosely, and now you can make them even stronger. For this, you're going to have to fight the Chaos Dwarfs, which might be a little bit tough at the beginning of your campaign. You don't have to do it in a specific order. Once you've done the first one, the others will all unlock, so then you can pick and choose which you think are going to be the easiest ones for you to do. The only one that remains locked is the Scaven one, but that one, you just have to complete 3 different adventures without any specific order. But once again, they've got their own quests and so on. It's going to be the same as the other one, so don't you worry. You're just going to have to fight your way and do specific dilemmas and all that stuff. We're going to briefly go over the adventures though, so you can see what they offer. You won't be able to see the missions until you start the adventure. This is something quite important, which I'm not too keen on, to be honest. It would be nice to be able to mouse over it. But yeah, the Night Goblin one is focused on the Goblin Hero, surprise, surprise, so you can make them a lot better, a lot more usable in combat. They're already pretty good as they stand anyway, so don't you worry about that. And you'll be able to recruit a number of them early, even if you don't have access to the building, so that works out pretty well. Now we'll look towards the next one. So obviously there is one for vampire counts, once again focusing around the copters, but this time around the bombers, who are strong as they stand, believe me. I mean, you've seen the previous video, they are very strong, so making them even stronger is just going to be really funny. The next one after that is fighting against the tree spirits, so you'll be fighting against Striker's forces. This one's going to focus around flame cannons, which, yeah, I mean, you know, trees, fire. Needless to say, you'll be doing a lot of damage, and yeah, you'll be getting some really cool stuff there. I am happy because I like how the flame cannons are. I know some people aren't, but they work pretty well, and they get really strong, especially as you increase their missile strength and the experience that they can gain. So after a while, yeah, they're going to be up and running and really being massive terrors in the battlefield. The demonic one focuses around Khorne, and you'll be able to boost up your organ guns. These are a very popular unit for the dwarves. This one, you'll be fighting against not only Khorne. In certain cases, some of the quests will focus around dealing with other chaotic deities. So yeah, move yourself up north and you're going to be in for a good time. Again, it's going to be quite interesting because you're going to be fighting so many different enemies. It gives you the push to do so. And the last one, after doing 3 of your choice, is the Scaven, and this one is going to boost your Thunderbarges. Yes, your already overpowered units are going to be even more overpowered. This means that if you want to see the Thunderbarges at the most powerful they can ever be, you're going to want to play as Malakai. And yeah, they very much show for it. It also boosts up your Doomseekers too, which is cool because obviously at the end of the day, it's a DLC unit which doesn't really get attention in terms of this mechanic because it's not an artillery piece, but yeah, you have to have something focusing around Thunderbarges for Malakai Makaisson, right? It is a pretty interesting questing system, and I think that it really shows what this character is all about, which is really, really important. Interpretation of lore when introducing such a character really makes it much more interesting to the player base. I did have some people request this, so I'm making sure that this is in the video. The short victory conditions are focused around doing 4 legendary battles, destroying Archaon's forces and also the Disciples of Ashut, whilst the usual, you know, occupy, loot, raise or sack 30 different settlements, and that will give you the benefit of +3 to your capacity for all of your heroes, which is quite good. And then lastly, when it comes to the long conditions, it's the same thing. You have to destroy all the Chor factions, by the way, at that point. So the Legion of Asgore also, the Servants of the Conclave, and Grimgor's Ardboys, and that bonus is hero recruit rank +10 for all provinces. So yeah, you're going to be getting some bonuses there to your heroes. And with some further information, as I know some people are going to want to have this, yeah, you can get Ulrika with Malakai. That means that you can pretty much get the gang back together, except for missing Snorri and a few others, but yeah, you never know for the future. It would be kind of cool, wouldn't it? Just have pretty much the whole Black Library team in here. Who knows, maybe when Thanquol eventually shows up. But obviously those 3 legendary heroes have been in the game before, so why don't we talk about the new one? You can get access to Garagrim Ironfist, Ungrim's son, more or less around rank 11. Some people have had it show up in rank 12, but that could just be an internal bug. And all you need to do is recruit and maintain 8 Slayer units. There's nothing else that you need to do, no other quest chain or whatever, so you're going to get him really quickly, especially as a Slayer focused faction. And yeah, he's going to spawn right next to a legendary lord as per usual, and you're going to get access to a little bit of Oathgold too, which is always nice. The character himself is a Slayer, as you can imagine, and he's very good at what he does. And he also has a unique skill line which focuses up on buffing up your Slayer troops once again, reducing construction costs, reducing the recruitment cost, and also their upkeep, alongside boosting up his own capabilities to be much stronger. He is a very, very good character at what he does, and yeah, you're going to want him, especially if you're playing as, say, for example, Ungrim or Malakai, or if you're just having Slayer armies for the sake of theming within your other playthroughs, as you're going to be able to get him with other characters too. I am actually very happy that Garagrim ended up being a legendary hero because I quite like him. I think that he has some tragic lore. We'll be discussing that in the future. But yeah, it's so cool to see characters that people might have even forgotten about coming back in legendary hero basis. But we do have a little bit more to talk about because obviously the dwarf roster is filling out very, very nicely with a bunch of new units. It's really nice to finally see that here, that they finally got the attention that was deserved. Keep in mind that they haven't had a DLC since Warhammer 1. Yeah, a bunch of new units have been added in, including a generic Lord and Hero. The units have been split up rather nicely. Obviously, all the Slayers can be found in the Slayer building. The Engineer building is going to focus on the Thunderbarge, and then you've got the Artillery building, which is going to focus very, very heavily on, you know, the Goblin Hewer alongside your cannons and all that. They're all buildings that you're naturally going to be building up anyway. Let's talk about the brand new generic Lord, the Demon Slayer. So this is your Slayer character if you want to have Slayer-focused armies. Once again, having its own line to focus up on giving him terror, fear, making him very, very killy, and also you get bonuses to fighting demons for Lord's army because, well, yeah, you're a Demon Slayer, right? You'll be boosting up your Slayers very, very heavily once again, which is going to keep with that fantasy at the end of the day. Stylized Lords make for really, really good additions. Yeah, I mean, I'm having a lot of fun playing as Ungrim. We're going to have a video on Ungrim very, very soon. I think tomorrow, actually, because this campaign just feels so much better, especially just having all these different options. And it's nice to have it with Malakai too, clearly, because, you know, Slayer Engineer. But yeah, having stylized lords, again, so important, and hopefully it won't be the last time that we see this, because some other factions need that too. He'll also be joined by the brand new generic hero, the Dragon Slayer. So yeah, you can have a Slayer hero also. Yeah, he has a pretty fun skill line, which is going to focus around doing damage to pretty much anything chaotic, focusing very heavily on himself this time, which, yeah, I mean, does make sense. You know, you've got the Lord to do that anyway. And the damage output is very good. Remember that obviously these guys aren't armored, so you're going to want to try and get them some ward save and so on, some physical resistance, so they aren't killed off, but they look immense, they look great. I mean, if you compare them to the old school metal models, which are coming back, you know, this is apples and oranges. This is something so drastically different, but this is amazing, and I'm absolutely in love with the design. I'm a big fan of Slayers. They are just so cool, and it's just great to finally have this after so many years of waiting. But that's not all, obviously. There's a bunch of generic units that you'll be able to use with your dwarf characters, and don't you worry, there's going to be videos focused around the new units themselves, but here I want to go over them briefly. So we've got Thunderers with Grudge Rakers. These are basic Thunderers, but with a little bit of a shotgun, yeah? It's a blunderbuss, very similar to that of the Chaos Dwarf one, so a little bit less range, but a bit more punch. This is if you like short-range damage, and to be honest, you know, this should have been a weapon option a long time ago. Hand weapon and shield once again, so it's still pretty much a Dwarf Warrior. You're very much sorted there. Slayer Pirates are a brand new unit that I've been waiting for a long, long time. Obviously a throwback to 6th edition, so Slayers, but with some guns, which is pretty unheard of, but they were a thing back in the day in the tabletop, so it's good to see them back. Yeah, you'll have them up front and personal. They'll be able to fire on the move. They don't have a lot of ammunition because they're not supposed to be a shooter unit. Think of them very much like the Empire Militia. Have them charge into the enemy, they'll get some poxy shots in, and then smash the enemy down with their very, very big swords. Big fan of them, love a hybrid unit. Especially when it comes to a dwarf, it's always good. They're fast, well, for a dwarf, and they are also still subject to stuff like death blow, so they're going to be quite strong. This is going to be further added in when we start looking towards the Doomseekers. So Doomseekers aren't a hybrid, but they are very, very strong. These are anti-infantry, they're death blow, they are so cool. One of my favorite units from the tabletop. I've been stripping down a bunch of my models recently because we know that they're coming back for the old world, so I'm really, really excited to be able to use them in Total War also. It feels like it's a cross-promotion thing, which seems to be just coincidental than anything else, but yeah, it's very hard not to love these guys, man. They do so much damage. They are flail units without having flails, essentially. Keeping on the Slayer theme, we have the Goblin Hewer, so not a lot of ammunition. It's still decent when it comes to firing, and you can improve that. Damage output is pretty cool. You've got some Slayer crew there, so when you run out, you can take it into melee and try and do what you can. Overall, I mean, it's a Goblin Hewer. It's something incredibly special, and yeah, I mean, trying to find these models nowadays is really, like, rare, extremely rare. It's cool to see pretty much a 6th edition army being introduced into Total War Warhammer. This is a full 6th edition army essentially for the Storm of Chaos campaign. I really love the Storm of Chaos, and I know a lot of other people do too. But yeah, then we look towards the last unit, which is the Thunderbarge. I mean, there's not much to say. You guys have been seeing clips all over it. It's disgustingly strong. It can be taken down, and yes, it can be a very large target, so the AI can focus on that if you put it onto harder difficulties, but have it fly over the enemy, have it demolish the enemy, have it just really rip apart everything there. If you're dealing with hordes, this is the best thing for you. So Scaven, Orc Wars, all that type of stuff, just really shatter the enemy lines as you've got constant fire coming out from it. It's not just the barge itself dropping bombs, but you've got a crew firing, you've got the big missile at the top too, which you can use to hit a large target. Such a great interpretation of something that we never had a model before. We just had a little bit of artwork. But yeah, we're at the end of the video. I just want to give you some thoughts regarding Malakai. I think the campaign is very fun. If you like dwarfs and you like engineering, this is definitely going to be a campaign that you're going to enjoy. I like the new units. The units will be usable by everyone. The stylized stuff when it comes to quest battles is fantastic. This is something that I'm very much keen on. It's something that you're going to be seeing quite a bit when it comes to Tamilkon too. This is how you do a story narrative and bring it into the Immortal Empires, but without having it feel forced. Honestly, were it up to me, there's no need for the Realm of Chaos at this point, but I understand that they probably want to commit onto that. But it's good to see the narrative come in through that type of stuff. Obviously, it's not the full complete narrative style, but it definitely brings in a breath of fresh air. The dwarves in general have been feeling great thanks to their rework. 5.0 is really giving them some touch-ups, but now if you want full Slayer armies, which I don't know about you, I do. You know, Slayers are cool. Slayers are some of the best things that the dwarves have in their lore. So it's great to finally see them, and most importantly, hopefully this is the third and final rework for the dwarves. They feel pretty damn good now. There's a lot more to come. There's going to be a lot more videos coming out in the next couple of days. Obviously, my review is on the 29th. But until then, there's going to be around 6 videos, possibly today, if I can get it all sorted. And then around 2 to 3 videos every other day. I've got a lot to talk about. And if you're interested, I will be live on twitch.tv/thegreatbookofgrudges. Why don't you pop by, say hi. I believe when this embargo goes live, we'll be playing Malakai. But there's going to be loads and loads of streams. They're going to be around 8 hours long. So it's fine if you don't want to pop by, believe me, I know 8-hour long streams are a bit long, but yeah, pop by, say hi, have a little bit of a discussion. We can talk about everything here. And as a final note, I hate to do this, but you know, if you're new here, why don't you consider subscribing? We are getting so close to 100k subscribers. It would be really, really cool if I could hit that this year. It's totally free. It doesn't cost you anything. It just helps me out, get a little bit more attention from YouTube. And yeah. But with all that being said, have a great day, guys, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. There's so much to talk about. I'm going to need a little bit of a holiday after this.